After 2 weeks, the Bellator Fighting Championships has put its stamp on the MMA circuit with dominant performances in 3 of all 4 divisions. At Bellator 1 from the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, Bellator's featherweights and lightweights took center cage, thrilling the crowd with knockout submissions and head-over-heels performances. Last week from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut, the welterweight tournament got underway. Lyman Good thrilled the fans and his #1 supporter, his mother, as he submitted Hector Urbina, while at 155, Eric Reynolds wrapped up a spot in the semifinals, and at 145, Wilson Hayes inched another step closer to the Bellator title. Tonight from Norman, Oklahoma, tournament favorite Hector Lombard begins his quest for middleweight supremacy at Bellator Fighting Championships 3, right now. And the Bellator train rolls onward to Sooner Country. We are inside the Lloyd Noble Center, firmly on the campus of Oklahoma University, where tonight we continue with tournament quarterfinal action. It is the Bellator Fighting Championships, where fighters become warriors and warriors become legends. So glad to have you back with us once again. I'm John Anik. We began with 32 fighters in 4 different weight classes. Over the course of the next several hours, we'll show you how several of the fighters have advanced to this point in the tournament. But tonight we shift our focus to the middleweight tournament and the beginning of quarterfinal action at 185. And with that privilege to bring in my partner, Jason Chambers. Jason, according to most experts, Hector Lombard is the favorite at 185 pounds.
Well, I'd have to agree. Hector definitely would be the favorite coming into this. I mean, he was a competitor in the 2000 Olympics, but even though he is a phenomenal judoka, he's ended most of his fights by TKO knockout. Although if there's one thing we've learned, the guys that are the favorites coming in aren't always the winners coming out.
All right, so 8 guys will compete at 185 pounds. 1 will emerge with the Bellator gold, but we begin tonight with a special feature attraction. 3 rounds in the featherweight division, 145 pounds. Donald Sanchez taking on Johnny Eduardo. And Donald Sanchez out of the blue corner, the first one to make his way to the Bellator circle tonight, fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, 24 years old. We talked to his trainer, Tom Vaughn, earlier today. Said he's actually one of the most popular fighters in all of New Mexico.
Yeah, and if you think about New Mexico, there's really 2 camps that stand out to me. There's Greg Jackson, obviously you have George St. Pierre, UFC welterweight champion coming out of there, and you have Fit NHB. Those are kind of the top 2 schools, and Donald Sanchez is going to have something to say about his school being #1.
All right, now let's hear from Sanchez on his start in mixed martial arts.
I started fighting because I was always fighting on the streets, you know, getting in trouble, and I needed a way to get myself back on track, and I started training, get in shape, and I found out fighting is better getting paid than getting in trouble for.
So Sanchez, traditionally a lightweight, fighting in the featherweight division tonight. Jason has won 5 of his last 6, but is coming off a February loss by unanimous decision to Victor Valenzuela in a King of the Cage competition. And what are the challenges for Sanchez? Well, we'll actually get your answer first, because we're going to see Johnny Eduardo make his way to the cage. And we got to give Johnny Eduardo some love. Fighting out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the 30-year-old, 21-8 in his mixed martial arts career, and comes in tonight, Jay, riding a 7-fight winning streak.
That is a huge winning streak. I mean, he's fought some of the toughest guys in the business. For instance, Takanori Gomi, long considered one of the top, if not the top, 155-pounder in the world. Johnny fought him way back in 1999, lost to a rear naked choke, but you know what? Gomi beats everybody, so that's nothing.
Eduardo began his career 12-0, then lost 4 straight. Then he was able to get back at it and register some wins. His last fight, actually less than a month ago, got the win in the 3rd round via the rear naked choke against Bruno Alves. A lot of skills for this guy, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai. 12 of his 21 wins by submission. But has actually been submitted in 7 of his 8 losses. We'll see what happens tonight. Now let's hear from Johnny Eduardo.
Bem, meu plano nessa luta, minha estratégia é a trocação. Eu sou do Muay Thai, e represento o Muay Thai e o Jiu-Jitsu. Então, onde a luta cair, ou em pé ou no chão, vou me defender muito bem.
So it'll be Johnny Eduardo against Donald Sanchez in a featherweight attraction here. And as for Eduardo, we mentioned submitted in 7 of his 8 losses. I guess he's fighting a lot of quality Brazilians.
You know what? The way I look at it is if you're someone who gets submitted a lot, you're probably someone who has won a lot by submission because you're not making it a boring fight. If you're just sitting there and laying and praying, you're not opening up for submission. So I'm looking to him go out there and bring it.
All right, let's send it inside the cage for the announcement.
Desde el Noble Center, OU University, Norman, Oklahoma. Damas y caballeros, prepárense. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for Bellator Fighting Championships. Presentado por, being brought to you by Ford Motor Company y ESPN Deportes. Este combate pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso pluma. This bout scheduled for 3 rounds of MMA action in the featherweight division. Los jueces de este combate son, the judges scoring this bout are Jim Lambert, Nick Atwood y Bobby Higdon. El referee, Kevin Nix. En la esquina azul, in the blue corner, sube el cuadrilátero vestido de negro con vivos blancos. He steps into the ring wearing black with white trim. Su peso oficial, 147 libras. He weighed in officially at 147 pounds. Un especialista en el estilo libre de las artes marciales con un récord profesional de 15 victorias y 8 derrotas. He is a specialist in freestyle fighting with an MMA record of 15 victories along with 8 defeats. Representing Fit NHB, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Donald Sanchez. Y en la esquina roja, in the red corner, vestido de blanco con negro y rojo. He steps in wearing white trimmed in black and red. Su peso oficial, 145 libras. His official weight, 145 pounds. Practica los artes marciales de boxeo tailandés y jiu-jitsu brasileño, con un récord profesional de 21 victorias y 8 derrotas. He is a Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner with an MMA record of 21 victories against 8 defeats. Originario originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brasil, y representing Team Nogueira, Coconut Creek, Florida, Johnny Eduardo.
Fire, center of the ring. Fire, center of the ring. All right, gentlemen, good clean fight. No fouls. Touch gloves and be warriors.
Be Warriors, the call from Kevin Nix there. Jason, I want to ask you as we get started here, Donald Sanchez, traditionally a lightweight moving down to 145. What are the challenges that go along with that?
Losing 10 pounds.
Fighter, you ready?
That's the first thing that comes to mind. Where do you lose 10 pounds from? This guy's got 3% body fat. You know, the thing you see more in lightweight action is you see faster paced, you see more submissions. The heavier the guys, heavier the hands, more knockouts. So let's see how that affects him coming into this fight. Eduardo, obviously out of Brazil. I expect to see some jiu-jitsu working from him. Ooh, good inside leg kick by Eduardo.
Yeah, Eduardo really ready to go. We expect him to be active. The big right hand off the bat.
Oh, that was kind of a weak shot there by Sanchez. It looked like he got tagged and said, I'm going to drop to a double leg here before I get knocked out. Eduardo looks like he's kind of working a guillotine. Can't really see from this angle. There's his right hand around Sanchez's neck. Here his corner yelling, ground and pound, ground and pound. Want to use that cage. And Sanchez wisely kicking off the cage, trying to get to... Eduardo's in an armbar here. He's going to try to extend his hips and straighten it out. Sanchez doing a good job of defending by stepping over and taking away the leverage that Eduardo here has in his hips.
Both of these guys go for the finish. Eduardo, his last 9 wins have all been stoppages. As for Sanchez, his last 6 have been finishes.
I have no clue why we got a stand up there. That was absolutely ridiculous. He was in on a deep armbar there.
Nice left hand there lands for Sanchez. Yeah, a little curious there as Kevin Nix stands him up.
Oh,
another
big right hand.
Yeah, Eduardo.
You know, I think that's just going to make Eduardo mad. Next time he might not let Sanchez tap if he gets it in deep. Sanchez, again, though, did a good job of defending.
Yeah, and Sanchez able to recover from that early blow, at least from what we can see right now.
No reason for that stand-up. Gotta say it. I was in deep on that. He was in deep on the armbar. That was a position where I think the referee just couldn't see that Eduardo had an armbar. He just thought they were kind of in a mute position. Eduardo attacked Sanchez there with a nice right, and thought that perhaps they were just looking to work position, but that could have went either way at that point.
Appear to be a slippage there.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes your feet sweat. Both guys doing a good job of feeling each other out. Both guys look sharp on their feet. Looks like Eduardo's getting a little bit better at the exchanges.
Another right hand there lands for Eduardo. Showing off the striking here early on. We mentioned the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials. Getting it done on his feet, though, to this point.
Yeah, so far so good. Spinning back fist.
Sanchez was ready for that.
Those are great when they connect, but when you miss with those, you just kind of, people look at you and go, why did they throw that? Shoney Carter's huge with spinning back fists. Used to knock out tons of guys with that. Looks like Eduardo's just kind of taking his pace a little bit here and setting up those punches. Sanchez is doing the same. You know, Sanchez has a little bit of a wider stance. When I see that, I usually think a guy is going to shoot. They're planting their feet a little bit more. They're going to throw a little more hands. A guy like Eduardo, who's got his feet a little closer together, that lends himself to having a little faster feet. It means he's going to throw a little bit more kicks.
Sanchez fighting out of Fit NHB, one of the renowned camps there in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Connected with a beautiful right kick to the thigh of Sanchez.
So we go under a minute and a half here in the opening round.
Oh, nice double left hook there by Eduardo. This is the calm before the storm. A little bit of a low kick. This definitely looks like the calm before the storm. Both guys, when they have gotten in range off of that jab, have been able to throw two punch combinations. It looks more like Eduardo's been moving forward when the hands are being thrown, but like that, comes forward with that right and left hook. Oh, big right hand right on the chin of Sanchez. Sanchez just takes it, backs away, waves a little bit at Eduardo, lets him know, I'm okay, you got to hit me with better shots than that.
We know Sanchez can strike, but Eduardo seems to be the quicker guy at this point. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I think that's safe and accurate.
This little Superman punch there.
I'm becoming a big fan of Eduardo here. Connected with a good left uppercut to the body. He's mixing up his levels. He's really mixing up his boxing well here. Sanchez doing a great job too, though.
Yeah, he's showing off the chin at least.
At very least. He's definitely moving well, and he's been working punches too. He just hasn't really been able to land anything of merit to Eduardo yet. The last 10 seconds, see if he can get anything going here. Otherwise, I got to give this round to Eduardo.
So a strong opening 5 minutes as Johnny Eduardo likely takes the first round against Donald Sanchez. So, Jason, you came away from the first 5 minutes pretty impressed with Johnny Eduardo.
Yeah, Eduardo's been throwing everything but the kitchen sink here at Sanchez. You see here, he throws the fake knee with a big right-hand Superman punch, just connects a little bit. And if you look at that from another angle, you see how he sets this up here. He starts to load the knee, and then it comes over the top of that right and left. And he threw some spinning back fists in there and stuff, and he's been throwing everything at him.
So the action continues with round number 2, and Donald Sanchez, at least it would appear, has some work to do. Johnny Eduardo landing more and throwing more in round 1. Strong kick there from Eduardo.
Eduardo really putting together good combinations. You see Jay-Z from American Top Team and a couple other guys from ATT in the corner there of Eduardo. So you know he's getting good advice between rounds. Sanchez recently had a teammate, Thomas Schulte, fight on one of Bellator's cards. So he's fighting for the honor of not only himself, but his school.
Legal, up there, legal.
Both guys really putting out a good show here. Good show of sportsmanship. Inadvertently, sometimes you get hit in the groin.
You mentioned Thomas Schulte suffering the loss at Bellator 2 to Eric Reynolds, so Donald Sanchez trying to get Team Fit NHB back off the canvas.
Oh, good combinations put together by Eduardo. I think if I'm Sanchez at this point, I got to start thinking about changing my game plan. It seems like Eduardo's been beating him with the hands, even though Sanchez has been pressing the action. Every time he comes in, Eduardo's timing that right hand nicely, and he's putting together better combinations. If I'm Sanchez, I got to start thinking about maybe shooting a double or working off of the fence and trying to test my clinch a little bit.
You think as long as Eduardo keeps his hands up, you know, he should be okay here. Doesn't seem to fear Sanchez's power, at least so far.
Well, you know, I think Sanchez hasn't really found his range. A couple of the kicks have connected, a couple of the jabs, but the difference is that Eduardo's been able to put together combinations. You've seen him lay out 2-3 punches, and that's really where you're going to get your bang for your buck, because a lot of times it's not that first punch that comes in that makes the contact. It's the third, the fourth, or the shot you set up behind it. Guys who utilize that jab or just that low leg kick to kind of set up their distance a little bit and gauge what my opponent's going to do with regards to his reaction. Oh, nice leg kick there by Sanchez. Those are going to take their toll.
Yeah, Sanchez having a decent round here with his feet, but you mentioned not being able to find his range with his hands, and maybe there's a reach advantage here for Johnny Eduardo. At least it would appear that way.
I think it just appears that way because he's been connecting more. I think that
Sanchez, though, having trouble getting inside, having trouble reaching from the outside.
Yeah, Sanchez has also been circling to his left, which is at the power hand of Eduardo. Usually you want to circle to the outside of your lead leg of your opponent so you're not going into that powerful right hand. You see Sanchez is doing a good job of cutting off the ring on Eduardo when he moves, but he's not really finishing that up with much. A couple good inside leg kicks by Sanchez on Eduardo. Both guys happy to make this a stand-up war, which crowd likes, and you know, those stand-up wars tend to end in either long, boring decisions or big flash knockouts. And I think that the way Eduardo's been throwing punches here, you're going to see some action here. Just waiting for his opportunity.
Cardio certainly not an issue, at least to this point, as we go under 2 minutes in round number 2. Both guys appear to have their legs.
Yeah, one of the things you'll notice when guys start to get tired, oh, good body kick by Eduardo there. So when guys start to get tired, you'll see it in their feet first. They'll start to be flat-footed, they'll move around less. The next thing you'll see is their hands start to drop. It'll go from your ears to your chin to your shoulder. And then the last thing you see is usually them unconscious. It's a really good way to find out if it's gassed.
You have to think Bjorn Rebney, Brad Epstein, Matt Stansel, and the Bellator brass. Impressed with Johnny Eduardo. Very active, very accurate, getting it done with the kicks here in round number 2. He's got to be opening some eyes.
Yeah, Eduardo's doing a good job of boxing. You see he's got really good boxing head movement there, although he did just catch a head kick there by Sanchez. Both guys doing a good job of moving around. You see Sanchez there, he throws that left jab, and then he kind of backs his body off of that. Shows a little bit of being timid on the punches. Let's see who can work out of the clinch there and just gets pushed off. If I'm Sanchez again at this point, I've got to just start to commit with my punches. It looks like he's gotten hit a couple of times, and the only thing he's really been able to put together are a couple of low leg kicks. But so far, I'd have to give the first round clearly to Sanchez, and the second round here, obviously.
To Eduardo, you mean?
I'm sorry, to Eduardo. First round to Eduardo, and then the second round still to Eduardo. See, I get so into the fights, I forget who I'm watching. I'm just excited to see guys punch.
That's all good. You mentioned, though, Sanchez trying to switch things up. You saw him sort of try and move into the clinch, maybe go for a takedown, but do that at your own peril against a guy with the jiu-jitsu credentials of a Johnny Eduardo.
You know, I think at this point, his corner's got to be telling him to mix it up a little bit. You got to find a new game plan. You're going to win this fight.
All right, so 2 rounds in the books and likely 2-zip Johnny Eduardo. So we go to the third and final round between Johnny Eduardo and Donald Sanchez, and at least so far, it's been the Johnny Eduardo show.
Yeah, you've seen the guys get a little timid on the punch. He throws a right hand there, not able to close the distance and follow up with it. Hopefully this round we can get a little bit more of the combinations. Just like that, 1-2 down the pipe. Both of them connect down the chin of Sanchez. I think Eduardo's going to look to finish the fight here. Looks like he's throwing a little bit heavy leather. Good right leg kick. Another good right leg kick. Oh, another Superman punch.
Really a versatile striking attack from Johnny Eduardo. Sanchez, we mentioned having work to do, has his legs, but Jason, he's on the wrong side of a decision if it comes to that. He's got to get going.
Yeah, Sanchez has a nice wide base, which usually, again, is indicative of a guy that wants to throw punches, but you know, he looks a little timid. He hasn't been able to get inside on Eduardo, hasn't been able to find his range. Don't know why he hasn't tried shooting. Maybe that first ground exchange they had made Sanchez think that I may be mismatched here on the ground. It's the only thing I can think of.
Sanchez landing the left jab there. Didn't appear to do too much damage, but it did hit flush.
Well, at this point, Sanchez, I see the cross on his back, better start getting a little more religious and start getting something working, because Eduardo just kind of needs to keep the pace up and not get knocked out. Sanchez needs to go to work a little bit here. But like we've seen in fights before, come from behind finishes happen all the time. Only takes one right hand to make the judges go, you know what, I guess I don't need to turn in my scorecard on this bout. Oh, Eduardo started to work the Muay Thai clinch a little bit there.
Eduardo in search of his 10th straight victory, not overall, but in terms of stopping his opponents, but this one could be destined to go the distance.
Well, Eduardo's got 3.5 minutes to make us a believer that he can finish this fight.
Well, I think regardless of the outcome, I think Johnny Eduardo has some believers that he may not have had before things got started.
A spinning back kick. I'm gonna get this guy's autograph after his fight. I'm a fan. I like it. Got good head movement, good boxing, good jiu-jitsu. Haven't seen much wrestling from Eduardo at this point. Sanchez has been the one to kind of initiate both takedowns.
Crowd here in Norman, Oklahoma getting a little bit restless, looking for an increase in the action. Certainly got two commentators cage side that appreciate the striking display from Johnny Eduardo.
I think they were both doing great. Eduardo's throwing a lot of good overhand rights here at Sanchez. And Sanchez is coming up the middle a little bit more, but again, neither guy really putting together too many combinations. Eduardo's kind of playing it safe a little bit here, counter punching off of Sanchez, and has connected a lot with those right leg kicks to the thigh. You see the, oh, right on the knee. Oh yeah. That's unfortunate if it buckles your knee at this point. It looks like Sanchez may be a little bit hurt, wobbly on that left knee. I think Eduardo needs to kind of finish that up there. He moved in a little bit. From cage side here, we see the left leg of Sanchez just swollen up in red.
Immediate redness from that leg kick. Just a devastating blow there from Eduardo.
Kind of makes me hungry for roast beef.
Kind of makes you want to stop fighting.
And hence it has.
So we go under 2 minutes to go here. A featherweight special attraction. Johnny Sanchez wearing the black, Johnny Eduardo in white. Sanchez throwing a leg kick there. And again, I remain impressed with Donald Sanchez's chin, but he really hasn't done any appreciable damage here to Johnny Eduardo whatsoever.
No, Johnny Eduardo has made this look like a kickboxing match. He's just been clean and crisp. You see good head movement there, throwing together punches and working the right leg of Eduardo. I'm sorry, working the right leg of Sanchez. Just parries the jab out of the way. You know, for a guy that's had most of his wins come via submission and his losses come via submission, his hands look really good. I'm really impressed. And again, not to take away from Sanchez. Sanchez, obviously, you can see he's technical. He just hasn't really been able to find his range. But with about a minute left, he's going to need to find the chin of Eduardo if he wants to win this fight.
Again, you see Eduardo land on that same spot on the right leg, and that's going to leave a mark.
He is going to feel that tomorrow. Oh, another big right leg. Buckled him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that could be some knee damage there.
Swing and a miss. 30 seconds left. One of these guys really has to get in there. Sanchez needs to just tee off. He's got 20 seconds, and if he doesn't do something, he's going to have his first loss in Bellator and not even get that first win.
You got to think the message from Tom Vaughn in the corner was a sense of urgency. We just haven't seen it here from Donald Sanchez. We go under 10 seconds to go, and Johnny Eduardo peppering those legs again. You know Sanchez is really starting to feel that. That'll do it. Johnny Eduardo, a dominating performance here against Donald Sanchez in what is the Bellator debut for both guys, and Johnny Eduardo sensing victory here in his Bellator debut. All right, so we go to the judges' scorecards between Sanchez and Johnny Eduardo. We get the decision when we return to Norman, Oklahoma. So Johnny Eduardo in search of his 22nd victory, and now we're going to take a look at how he got it done.
Yeah, Eduardo was peppering, mixing up the hands and connecting with, boom, big leg kicks on him. You see him buckled the knee there. You take a look at another leg kick that he threw to Sanchez. Eduardo steps in, connects from the other side. See Sanchez lean down there. He definitely felt that. Now we go to the decision.
You see Donald Sanchez's leg. I mean, it's very, very red. Now let's send it inside. The voice of the circle, Lupe Contreras.
Damas y caballeros, después de 3 asaltos, los 3 jueces están de acuerdo entregando tarjetas idénticas de 30 a 27. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, all 3 judges are in agreement with identical scorecards of 30 to 27. For the winner, by way of unanimous decision, para el ganador por decisión unánime, Johnny Eduardo.
So no surprise there, Johnny Eduardo making a statement in his Bellator debut. He gets the unanimous decision over Donald Sanchez. So another loss for Team Fit NHB in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Johnny Eduardo 22-8 and victorious in his Bellator debut. And the tournament action continues shortly, but now we look at what went down in the quarterfinals of our lightweight division. Toby Imada and Alonzo Martinez in a matchup of veterans, but one-sided. Imada showing off his versatility, and he makes quick work of Zo Diddy Martinez. Eventually finish things off with the rear naked choke in round number 1. Toby Imada, a name to keep an eye on at 145. 155, also at a $155. Eddie Alvarez taking on the Irishman Greg Loughran, and to the surprise of many, Alvarez gets stung early and goes down, but then he shows you exactly why he's one of the best in the world. Alvarez eventually works into the guillotine along the cage, good for the first true submission victory of his career. Meantime, another favorite at 155, Jorge Masvidal taking on Nick Aguilar, and Masvidal had little trouble in bouncing Aguilar from the tournament. You see him pounce on Aguilar early, eventually finishes things off with his signature vicious ground and pound. Jorge Masvidal $25,000 richer and moving on to the lightweight semifinals. And the last spot in our Final Four was up for grabs between Eric Reynolds and the veteran Thomas Schulte. And despite perhaps tapping early on, Reynolds fighting off several submission attempts in the early going, eventually stunned Schulte, who goes down, and Eric Reynolds moving on with the knockout victory, the upset win over Thomas Schulte. So we've got plenty of star power remaining in the lightweight semifinals. It'll be a case of ask and you shall receive, or perhaps be careful what you wish for, as Eric Reynolds indeed gets Eddie Alvarez in what should be an all-out stand-up war. And then Jorge Masvidal also gets a stiff test in the form of the versatile and underrated Toby Imada. So a special feature attraction in the light heavyweight division, Rudy Lindsay taking on Wayne Cole here in Norman, Oklahoma. First, let's hear from the challenger, Rudy Lindsay.
My game plan going into this fight is I don't ever have a game plan when I fight. I go out there and just react from what happens and go out there and just try to do what I can do and see what they bring and see what happens from there. Just go out and have some fun.
So Rudy Lindsay knows he's the underdog in this fight, fighting out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 8-5 in his mixed martial arts career, the 33-year-old with a huge opportunity under the Bellator banner here tonight.
And Rudy Lindsay kind of going about this fight the Zen philosophy way. My way to win is not to have a way to win.
Right. Well, in this day and age, Jason, you know about the evolution of mixed martial arts. Most guys not only have a game plan, but really have intellectualized the sport. We hear from Rudy Lindsay, all he says, he increases his cardio, doesn't really scout his opponent. I don't know that that's the best strategy going in here.
Yeah, no, I don't know that I think the best strategy is to do nothing for a fight. I think there needs to be some action, but that's not to take away from the training Rudy Lindsay has done. Obviously, he has a wrestling background. He knows how to push himself. You know, he's got a bunch of fights under his belt, 8-5 record, so he's doing something right.
All right, well, his opponent is Wayne Cole. He will have the Sooner faithful firmly in his corner.
I got into mixed martial arts because I entered a tough man contest and won it, and the tough man promoter knew I had a wrestling background, and he got me a cage fight like 3 weeks later, and that started my career, man. It's been history ever since.
Well, Wayne Cole, the former Oklahoma University wrestler back in 1991 and 1992. He actually wrestled the former UFC champion Randy Couture, and you know the Sooners are happy to have one of their own back at Lloyd Noble.
Yeah, he's a hometown favorite for sure. You can hear the crowd having a blast watching Wayne Cole get in the ring here. Wayne actually said, "This is a dream of mine, man. I wanted to fight in the Lloyd Noble Center ever since I started doing martial arts. And this is a dream come true, and I'm not letting anybody take this from me."
A dream that Wayne Cole has had for 15 years finally comes true tonight here at Lloyd Noble. Actually had a fight scheduled on a smaller show on May 2nd, but once he found out that the Bellator Fighting Championships was coming to Norman, Oklahoma, he dropped everything to find his way on the card. And thankfully for the fans here in Norman, Wayne Cole is making an appearance tonight.
And hopefully a stunning appearance it's going to be. It's a lot of pressure having your whole life build up to this moment.
Now, some of the casual fans may remember Wayne Cole, the highest profile fight of his career, June 14th of 2008. An Elite XC loss to Rafael Feijão Cavalcante in less than 2 minutes, but Feijão, who will fight for the Strikeforce light heavyweight title against Babalu on June 6th. Feijão is a world-class athlete. No problem with the loss there. The last fight of record for Wayne Cole, a February technical knockout victory over Hector Andre, the 13th win of Wayne Cole's career. All right, it'll be Cole and Lindsay. Let's send it inside. Lupe Contreras with the official announcement.
Damas y caballeros, este combate está pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso semi-completo. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout set for 3 rounds of MMA action in the light heavyweight division. Los jueces son, the judges are Nick Atwood, Bobby Higdon y Jim Lambert. El referee, Kevin Nix. En la esquina azul, in the blue corner, vestido de negro con color blanco. He steps into the ring wearing black trimmed in white. Su peso oficial, 201 libras. His official weight, 201 pounds. Un especialista en lucha libre con un récord profesional de 8 victorias y 5 derrotas. He is a wrestler with an MMA record of 8 victories and 5 defeats. Representing Garage Boys Fight Camp, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Rudy Lindsay. Su rival en la esquina roja. His opponent in the red corner, vestido de negro con vivos rojos y blancos. He steps into the ring wearing black with red and white trim. Detuvo la báscula, un peso oficial de 205 libras. He tipped the scales at an official 205 pounds. Igual que su rival, practica el arte marcial de lucha libre con un récord profesional de 13 victorias y 9 derrotas. He too is a wrestler with an MMA record of 13 victories and 9 defeats. Representing Team Cole, Norman, Oklahoma, Wayne Cole.
Mr. Cole, stay in the ring. All right, gentlemen, good clean fight. Expect no fouls. Touch gloves and be warriors.
Well, you got to be all jacked up for Wayne Cole. And how about this? His mother, Ruth Cole, thought he was a boxer until 1 year ago. So here's a guy who debuted in 05. Ruth Cole didn't know he was a mixed martial artist until a year ago. Well, Ruth Cole is in the Lloyd Noble Center tonight. Hopefully Wayne can put on a show against Rudy Lindsay. Three rounds of mixed martial arts here in the light heavyweight division, and a clinch here early on.
Wayne with double underhooks. Good takedown right into the guard of Lindsay. Oh, gotta be careful on that arm. Lindsay threw up a good armbar attempt there.
Lindsay, a real powerful guy, works in a scrap yard, melting stuff down with a furnace all day.
Cole does a good job of passing into side control there. He's trying to use his right knee up, moves into mount.
And he's got the full mount here.
Gonna look for him to posture up. He's gonna push off of the face of Lindsay with one of his hands to create some space, and then throw down punches, just like this. Oh, he's going around for the armbar. Oh.
Yeah, well, Rudy Lindsay doing a nice job there, keeping his body active.
Yeah, Lindsay's trying to work on that left leg of Cole now, try to work a little ankle lock there. Cole needs to split the legs or grab the back of the head. There's another way he can defend it and just keep pressure inwards so he can't extend. He just hops to the guard of Lindsay pretty easy there.
And, you know, we focused on Cole, and rightfully so, with the Norman faithful in his corner, but Rudy Lindsay, I mean, he says without question, thankful that Bellator presented this opportunity, the biggest of his career, and he's taken a few punches on the chin.
And speaking of biggest of his career, some of those right hands look like they were some of the biggest of his career.
Yeah, that small goatee there ain't gonna stop the pain from those big shots.
I think maybe the goatee's like a buffer.
Yeah, wishful thinking, I guess. Wayne Cole looking to his corner for some advice.
Well, Cole needs to move into full mount if he really wants to take advantage of that leverage. You see him using his instep there on the forearm of Lindsay. That takes away his ability to use that arm. Now Cole's gonna push down on the left leg of Lindsay with his right hand and try to work his right knee out and pass the guard there. He's gonna try to do it again so he can improve that position.
Again, Lindsay doing some damage there from the bottom, keeping his body active, as we mentioned.
Well, he's definitely staying active, but when you're on the bottom like that, like Lindsay is, you need to think about getting into more of a dominant position. Guys that throw punches from bad positions or try to submit from the bottom when you don't have the leverage, it's just stupid. I mean, you really need to move into a stronger position. Staying busy is a good thing, but staying busy from a top position can win you the fight.
Right.
Let's see if Cole works on that far side arm. Lindsay's got the underhook there. Now he's in half guard. And Cole does a good job flattening him back out. I wouldn't be surprised if the ref stands him up here. Now this is somewhere you've seen kind of a stalemate position. Cole really needs to get that right leg free to advance on the mount of Lindsay so he can work more submissions or get more leverage on those punches. He might be working in a guillotine here. Again, doesn't really have the leverage from half guard.
Lindsay doesn't appear to be in too much trouble, but he does have sort of a grimace on his face and has throughout much of this first round. Again, you hear the crowd trying to get behind Wayne Cole. They're jonesing for the knockout.
Well, they're jonesing for a little advancement of position here. And I think the ref is going to be
right.
The ref is going to be jonesing for it in a second.
Yeah, Kevin Nix monitoring the action closely. It might be an eventuality here that he steps in and breaks these two up. As a fighter, Jay, I mean, do you want the opportunity to work out, or sometimes in this position, I guess if you're Rudy Lindsay on the bottom, you'd like to be stood up?
You know, I feel pretty comfortable on my back, and you see a lot of guys like even, high-level jiu-jitsu guys that are good with half guard, and they can utilize that for sweeps and things. But at this position, I really don't see Lindsay advancing too much, and neither, I don't see Cole hasn't exactly unwrapped the mystery that is half guard.
Right.
He's not going to be able to get enough on those punches. You see he's sitting up and he's content with throwing down some right hands on Lindsay, but the unfortunate thing is that Lindsay has Cole in half guard position and he's able to extend his hips away to take away a lot of the leverage on Cole's punches.
Well, we go under 30 seconds now in the first and opening round. 3 rounds in the light heavyweight division. Rudy Lindsay and Wayne Cole. The crowd imploring these two guys to pick up the pace a little bit, but and finally, mercifully, Kevin Nix breaks up the action with about 10 seconds to go in the opening round.
Ooh, face plant.
John Anik, Mike Side, Jason Chambers. We are inside the Lloyd Noble Center on the campus of Oklahoma University in Norman, Oklahoma. It is the Bellator Fighting Championships Fighters become warriors, and warriors become legends. Both of these guys trying to get on the path to greatness tonight, despite their age. Rudy Lindsay and Wayne Cole, both guys in their 30s. Lindsay, 33, and Wayne Cole, 38 years of age. A slow first round, Jason. Perhaps the pace will pick up here in round number 2.
Yeah, I think there's no question that Wayne Cole was dominant that whole round, but it's just a matter of what are you going to be able to do once you get there. And I'm hoping Wayne didn't use the rest of his energy. See, right in front of us now, kind of a half trip, half takedown, half I fell.
Right.
And now we're going to see Cole work out of the guard of Lindsay. Cole right now is just kind of resting, and this is a good position for Lindsay to begin to open him up with some punches and try to create some space to work some submissions.
Rowdy Rudy Lindsay on his back here, trying to do some damage with the elbows, but not a whole lot getting done. That one might have done some damage.
Yeah. It's such a fatiguing thing to fighting. You don't really understand when you're looking at this. You see Lindsay working a head and arm choke. He's going to try to scoot his hips out to the right side there, either take the back or possibly work for the choke. Got a great angle on Cole there. I don't know why Lindsay's not doing anything with it.
You have to think at some point one of these elbows might open Wayne Cole up.
Yeah, you just got to be careful he doesn't hit to the back of the head. With those elbows, you can strike to the side of the face, the front of the face, and to the body.
You do see some swelling there on the right side of Wayne Cole's head. Do you think fatigue's a factor for Cole?
I think that if Cole isn't fatigued, he doesn't know any jiu-jitsu at this point. I'm going to say that he's fatigued. I mean, it just doesn't look like... Oh, Lindsay working a omoplata there. Bringing the leg over, kind of some Eddie Bravo rubber guard. If he can just get his left leg in front of the face of Cole and then extend it, he's really got to work on that flexibility. He's got to get that foot underneath. Oh, that's nice. If he can extend the arm and get on top now, this could be all over if he can just get to his hips.
And Wayne Cole, Jason, doing nothing at all here. Maybe just the magnitude of being back on the campus of OU was too much for him. He's not even fighting.
Wayne Cole definitely looks like he's gassed at this point. You can see he's letting Lindsay get to the side. Oh, he's got a head and arm choke. Lindsay needs to grab his left hand against his right bicep, make that a little bit tighter and just squeeze, just like that. He's gonna squeeze and bring his legs in and hold it and count to 10. If he gets good pressure there, oh, that looks like it's pretty deep. Really needs to squeeze it though and use his legs to help gain some added pressure.
Well, as I look over my shoulder, Jason, the Cole clan visibly disappointed, literally not doing anything here. And Rudy Lindsay, not many jiu-jitsu credentials here. He's not even able to submit the guy.
Yeah, Lindsay needs to abandon the choke at this point and just go right to his back. Cole's all but given his back. He's almost bellied out. You know, the ref is looking to make sure that there's no unconsciousness going on there. But there we go, and now he's on his back, which is where I thought this was gonna go. I expect Lindsay to throw some punches. Cole looks just completely fatigued here.
Certainly not the highest level mixed martial arts we've seen in the Bellator circle to this point. Rudy Lindsay not able to finish a fighter who's not even fighting back.
Oh, he bellies out Cole. Cole looks like he's just kind of holding on now at this point.
You know, maybe he's saving energy for round 3. There may not be a round 3 here.
I don't know if that choke is too deep. Looking at this here from cage side, and Cole's controlling it hand to Lindsay, which is like what he needs to do. He needs to spin into him or make something happen.
Of course, Kevin Nix can't break up the action because Rudy Lindsay is dominating the fight.
Well, he's gonna break it up if Cole just lays there and lets...
Fight's over. That's it. Kevin Nix has seen enough. And so have I, quite frankly. Rudy Lindsay gets the victory there by technical knockout. Wayne Cole, so excited for this opportunity, grinning ear to ear all week long, and you know he's a disappointed man tonight. Really didn't do anything whatsoever in terms of fighting back in the second round as Lindsay gets the win.
Yeah, I think as a mixed martial artist, in all honesty, you have one main focus, and that's to be in shape. You can't control whether or not you have more technique than your opponent. I mean, you've got 8 weeks to train for a fight. And I think the thing you really need to look at is, did you dedicate yourself for this fight? And Cole just gassed himself. I don't know if there was some weight cutting issues or any problems, but Cole definitely wasn't in shape cardio-wise. You can tell he was spent right out of the gate.
Yeah, Wayne Cole, there were weight cutting issues. He cut down from 219 pounds the day before the fight. Clearly played a role here come fight night.
Yeah.
Well, as for Rudy Lindsay, he fights for his 2 sons, Eli, who's 9, Micah, who's 4. They had to enjoy this.
Yeah, and he's just raining down punches on Cole, hitting the left and the right, and Cole's bellied out, and the ref just said, look, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. why suffer any more abuse? And Cole doesn't put up much of a fight after that.
Yeah, I think you have to credit Kevin Nix for stepping in at that point. The action really was non-existent, and as soon as Rudy Lindsay started to land away, he called a stop to the fight. Rudy Lindsay now 9-5, and you have to feel good for him as well. He was very happy about the opportunity. He knew he was the underdog coming into this fight. He knew Wayne Cole would have the crowd, but it's Rudy Lindsay who emerges with the victory. And we send it inside the Bellator circle to get the official decision.
Damas y caballeros, el referee Kevin Nix para el combate con un tiempo oficial de 3 minutos 37 segundos del segundo asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Kevin Nix steps in, stops the fight with an official time of 3 minutes 37 seconds of round number 2. Your winner, by way of technical knockout, el vencedor por knockout técnico, Rudy Lindsay.
So Rudy Lindsay had lost 3 straight before submitting Ruben Escamilla due to punches in October of 2008. He gets his 2nd straight win tonight, and undoubtedly the biggest win of his career. The ground and pound there from the back. He takes care of Wayne Cole. Take a look back at what has transpired thus far at $170 and the best the Dominican Republic has to offer. Omar De La Cruz against the previously unbeaten Victor Meza, but De La Cruz dominated the action throughout as he hands Meza his first career loss. The Dominican De La Cruz with the victory over Victor Meza, now 2 wins away from the Bellator gold. All right, equally dominant at 170 was Jorge Ortiz in his matchup against Aaron Romero. Jorge Ortiz, the practicing attorney, and he laid down the law. Romero seemed to gas early, and it was Ortiz who was the cleaner, more accurate striker throughout the fight. Really was poised and composed. He earns a coveted spot in the welterweight semifinals. And finally, 2 weeks ago, Lyman Good, better than good in his quarterfinal against Hector Urbina. It was all good. He set the pace early and often, showed off his improved wrestling skills, eventually put Urbina to sleep with a rear naked choke. Good's mother enjoying every minute of his victory at Mohegan Sun. And now we take an updated look at the welterweight bracket. You see Omar De La Cruz, Jorge Ortiz, and Lyman Good all moving on. So now we get some middleweight action, 185 pounds, an alternate fight here, 3 rounds between Joey Gorczynski and Marcelo Alfaia. First we hear from Gorczynski. We know he's a wrestler. The question is, will he stick to what got him here?
I'm a wrestler, so my game plan is going to be to take him down. All I train, though, is boxing, so I know my boxing coach from Hooligans Boxing is going to want me to stand up, so that's probably what I will be doing is hopefully stand up and bang. If I'm not successful, I'm going to have to take him down and watch out for his jiu-jitsu game. So I'm going to try to keep it to, I think I have better boxing, so I'm not going to go down to his level. So we'll see how it goes.
And now we introduce Joey Gorczynski fighting out of Ulaga, Oklahoma, and the Hooligans Boxing Gym. And interesting where Joey was just a few days ago.
Yeah, he just came back from his honeymoon, and during the pre-fight interviews, he actually said that he left his wife in Vegas, said, I got to get out of here, Bellator needs me to fight, and left his wife in Vegas on the honeymoon.
Thankfully, though, the new Mrs. Gorczynski is here in Norman, Oklahoma tonight. And you know, Joey, it's not like he's taking this fight on a week notice. He did have a month's notice, but the wedding was already planned for Las Vegas, as was the honeymoon. You got to go get married. You got to go on the honeymoon. Just had to cut it a little short.
Maybe you need to hire a wedding planner, huh?
I'm telling you. Well, Joey Gorczynski, a successful high school wrestler. 12 of 13 wins, though, by submission. A little surprise there. Has won 7 of his last 9. The last bout, March 21st, just a few weeks ago. Submitted Joe Christopher with a guillotine choke in the 2nd round. Gorczynski, a guy traditionally a 170-pounder. May see him compete at 185 going forward. I know he was happy he didn't have a major weight cut here tonight.
The thing with that is when you're not a big guy in your division, you got to realize that the other guys tend to be. A lot of guys cut down 15, 20, 30 pounds over the course of, say, 8 weeks coming into a fight. So, you know, you're walking around at 182, 183, and you're weighing in at 183. You may have to realize that your opponent now is weighing in at 205 when you step in that cage, and that weight and that strength factor definitely plays a huge consideration as you get later in the rounds.
You heard Joey say trains primarily in boxing. Translation, he's supremely confident on the ground, not unlike the UFC's Josh Koscheck, training on what he perceives as his weakness, which is standing up. Now we meet his opponent, Marcelo Alfaia.
Yo mirei algunas peleas de mi oponente, es un chico muy valente, tiene un estilo de Wesley, mas yo quero acabar no grande empau, que eu sou bueno e vou ficar por cima, com fé em Jesus.
So Marcelo has done his homework on Joey Gorczynski, the 30-year-old, 9-5 in his career, fighting out of Miami, Florida by way of Brazil.
You know, this is the typical matchup that I hate when I used to fight, was having a jiu-jitsu background is fighting a wrestler, because wrestlers are the guys that are just as good, if not better, on the ground as far as controlling position, but they tend to push the pace more. You know, you look back at some earlier mixed martial art events, and the only downside of Brazilian jiu-jitsu was a lot of the guys said that jiu-jitsu guys can be lazy. They can lay on their back and kind of work. I don't know if that's going to be the case now with our guy, but he definitely looks like he's coming in ready to brawl, and he said, I feel 100% confident fighting this wrestler, so I'm looking forward to this to be a great stylistic matchup.
Well, you see the excitement on Marcelo's face, sort of the wide-eyed look there. Again, a lot of these guys fighting under the Bellator banner, the biggest stage of their career, and it would seem no different for Marcelo Alfaia. Muay Thai, ground and pound his strength, but he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Fell in love with combat sports growing up, and that's why he's here.
Well, if he loves combat sports, he's in the right place. He's about to walk into a cage, and only one guy gets to walk out of there with their hand up.
Again, the Bellator Fighting Championships, all of our fights under the unified rules of mixed martial arts. The lone exception for our tournament bouts, no elbow strikes to the head in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Also a good time to let you know that the fight now between Marcelo Alfaia and Joey Gorczynski is an alternate fight, meaning if there is an injury in the middleweight division, the winner of this fight tonight might have a chance to find his way onto the bracket. So a lot at stake here for Joey Gorczynski and the man you see right there, Marcelo Alfaia.
One of the things, too, I want to point out is that you'll see guys in mixed martial arts that have records like 15-8, 13-5, 9-5. And it's a little different than boxing. Boxing, you can have a 75-1, 75-3 record. In mixed martial arts, there's so many facets to the sport that guys that have a 2-1 record are some of the best guys in the sport. Randy Couture, I think he was 16-9. And records are just really difficult when you're looking at who's the winner.
All right, we go inside the Bellator circle for the particular announcement.
Damas y caballeros, este es el siguiente combate de esta noche, pactado a 3 asaltos en la división peso mediano de Bellator Fighting Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, so our next bout of the evening set for 3 rounds in the middleweight division of Bellator Fighting Championships, presentado por, being brought to you by Ford Motor Company y ESPN Deportes. Los jueces son, the judges are Jim Lambert, Nick Atwood y Bobby Higdon. El referee, Jason Herzog. Presentando la esquina azul, introducing the blue corner. Vestido de rojo con color blanco. He steps into the ring wearing the red trunks trimmed in white. Su peso oficial, 185 libras. His official weight, 185 pounds. Practica el arte marcial de lucha libre con un récord profesional de 13 victorias y 5 derrotas. He is a wrestler with an MMA record of 13 victories along with 5 defeats. Representing Hoodlum NMC, Ulaga, Oklahoma, Joey Gorczynski. Su rival en la esquina roja, his opponent in the red corner, vestido de color negro. He steps in wearing solid black. Detuvo la báscula un peso idéntico de 185 libras. He tipped the scales at an identical 185 pounds. Un especialista en el arte marcial de piso y golpeo, con un récord profesional de 9 victorias y 5 derrotas. He is a ground and pound specialist with an MMA record of 9 victories and 5 defeats. Originally from Porto Alegre, Brazil, y representing Team Nogueira, Coconut Creek, Florida, Marcelo El Grillo Alfaia.
Fighters have gone over the rules in the back. There are no final questions from you, Blue. No final question from you, Red. Touch gloves, come out ready to fight.
So Jason Herzog, the third man in the Bellator cage. Marcelo Alfaia taking on Joey Gorczynski, 185 pounds. An alternate fight here in the middleweight division. A couple of guys who have competed at 170. They compete at 185 tonight.
Alfaia looks huge. Definitely looks like he's going to have a size and strength advantage over Gorczynski. Let's see how that affects us. Also, Alfaia bringing back the old school 1995 Marco Huas trunks.
Yeah, he is.
Almost feel weird looking at him. Looks a little bit like Billy Zane, doesn't he?
I see it.
Billy Zane was going to compete in the mixed martial arts.
Gorczynski trying to be active with the kicks early on here, the high kicks.
Gorczynski looks a little tense. Keeping his hands kind of low too. I want to see Gorczynski bring his hands up, otherwise Alfaia may connect with something there that Gorczynski doesn't have an answer to. I think we're going to look for good clinch work there from Alfaia as he works against the cage. And that single leg, runs the pipe. Now he's going to work out of the guard at Gorczynski. This is the first time that in Bellator where we've seen a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt actually working in the guard. Oh, almost tries to yep. Can't triangle a black belt that easy. Gorczynski threw one up there and Alfaia smelled it out and passed.
Gorczynski's fought a lot of high-level jiu-jitsu guys in his career. He's not going to be phased by fighting a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. We mentioned how many of his wins have come by submission. Alfaia, conversely, despite his BJJ credentials, he's looking to get it going with the striking and the Muay Thai.
He moves into mount. Oh, Gorczynski's turning his back. I wonder if he got hurt. Oh, he's turning his back and he's flattening him out. Referee's going to stop it.
Easy work from Alfaia there. Jason Herzog steps in, and Joey Gorczynski was stunned early on. The crowd here in Oklahoma not liking it, but the Alfaia corner certainly will. Marcelo Alfaia dominant in his Bellator debut.
One of the things the referees look for to stop a fight is a fighter intelligently defending himself. The first sign when you turn your back is that I would look injured or I'm trying to escape. But when you turn your back, you flatten out, and all you're doing is covering up and you're taking punches. You need to at least be conscious that the referee is going to be there, and you need to make something happen kind of quick.
So a disappointing night for Joey Gorczynski, bopping up and down a little bit. He wished he could fight on, but Marcelo Alfaia ain't happening. 10-5 now for Alfaia. He gets his 10th career victory.
Alfaia looks really big for 185, especially compared to Gorczynski. And I think we're going to see more Alfaia. If we look here, we got the clinch work. Alfaia moves him into the cage. Gorczynski's kind of working on a guillotine a little bit there, but he gives up his lower body, running the pipe right into guard. If we look here, we see that Gorczynski's on his back, throws a little up kick towards the face of, boom, connects right there, coming over the right hand with Alfaia moving into mount, and this is the beginning of the end. Gorczynski's going to turn his back, flattened out, left and right. Referee not taking any chances.
Yeah, you mentioned the up kick there, and it was risky. It landed, but then he sort of left himself open, and Alfaia was able to capitalize the huge right hand. Gorczynski clearly was injured there, and it was short and sweet there for Marcelo Alfaia. All right, that'll do it for this fight. We send it inside the Bellator cage. Here's Lupe Contreras.
Damas y caballeros, el árbitro Jason Herzog para la contienda con un tiempo oficial de 1 minuto 32 segundos del primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, referee Jason Herzog halts the bout with an official time of 1 minute 32 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, by way of technical knockout, el vencedor por knockout técnico, Marcelo El Grillo Alfaia.
So there you have it, Team Nogueira getting it done here in Norman, Oklahoma. Now we look back at some results in the featherweight tournament. Tijuana's Jair Reyes shaking up the bracket early on. He ousted the heavily favored Nick Gonzalez. Reyes moving on to the semifinals. You see there, courtesy of the rear naked choke in round one. Reyes, a force to be reckoned with at 145. Also at a $145, Esteban Payan against Luis Palomino there with the pink hair. And Payan at the end of the first round really finished strong as Palomino goes down. Actually nearly finished him there, then sort of took a conservative approach, but he moves on courtesy of the split decision victory. Meantime, many thought Joe Soto would have his hands full against the veteran Ben Greer. Not so, it was Soto living up to his nickname. The hammer busted Greer up early and often. Joe Soto remaining undefeated, and with ease he moves on to the semifinals. And then of course last week, the final spot in the Final Four determined between Wilson Hayes and Henry Martinez. Admittedly not his best performance, but Hayes controlling the action in the second and third rounds, and Wilson Hayes also still undefeated as he moves on to the Final Four in the featherweight division. Now of course we'll take a look at the updated bracket, and soon someone's O will go. Fellow unbeatens Joe Soto and Wilson Hayes set to collide. And then you see in the bottom half of the bracket, it will be an intriguing matchup between Jair Reyes and Esteban Payan. So as we continue here in the Lloyd Noble Center in Norman, Oklahoma, time for the start of the middleweight tournament. 3 rounds of action in the 185-pound division. Yosmani Cabezas taking on Edwin Aguilar. And in Cabezas, those around him, they knew what they had early on.
I was in Cuba, I was like about 8, 9 years old, and I started training judo in a judo school. And I always loved to train martial arts.
Él un día estaba en la escuela comenzando y entonces un vecino me dijo, oye, tu niño se fajó con uno ahí a los puños en un terreno. Dice, es un gallito de pelea, un gallo fino de pelea, me decían los vecinos. Él empezó en Cuba el judo más o menos por esa época. Y eso es una tabla dura en Cuba, no hay condiciones ninguna. Y fueron como 3 o 4, y de los 3 o 4 le dieron unos cuantos trayunes. El maestro mandó a que le dieran en el piso. Y el siguiente día, de los 3 o 4 que fueron, volvió él nada más. Y el maestro dijo, este sirve.
I was watching one time in Venezuela, I remember the UFC fight. And one day I said, someday I'm going to be fighting, one of those events, I want to be fighting in the cage. And that's why, my passion began for the MMA.
El dinero que se le daba para la merienda, él no lo empleaba en eso, lo empleaba en pagar al instructor de karate.
Well, my inspiration is basically to get better. So that's what inspires me to keep training, to finally, to see something coming out of my hard training.
So it's all come to this for Yosmani Cabezas, hometown Cologne, Cuba, now resides in Tampa, Florida. They call him the Spartan, trains out of the Spartan gym in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he's a really tough guy. I mean, this guy came in ready to go, sees the opportunity here in the tournament, has a tough fight lined up, but with a 7-1 record, he's been in some tough wars before, only been defeated 1 time, so he's ready to make the move.
Cabezas, a 4-time karate champion. He's actually competed in 28 judo tournaments in his career. He's been training in some form of martial art for the last 15 years, calls himself a hybrid, says he's willing to do absolutely anything to win a fight. Actually, his last fight, perhaps his most impressive, he was crowned the first ever Florida State middleweight champion, submitted Gareth Joseph with a triangle choke in the first round, that at the Cage Warriors event in Orlando, Florida. You see the trainer there, Bill Banks, in his corner. Big things expected from Cabezas. We mentioned, of course, the fights in the tournament conducted under the unified rules of mixed martial arts, but the lone exception in the tournament action here, no elbow strikes to the head in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. This is a 185-pound quarterfinal. The winner wins $25,000, but more importantly, moves on to the semifinals, and within perhaps 2 fights of a Bellator championship and $175,000. A whole lot at stake here as we get underway with the middleweight tournament. His opponent, Edwin Aguilar, and he has a definite source of inspiration.
Empecé a ganar muchos campeonatos, gané muchos campeonatos estatales, gané 4 campeonatos nacionales de kickboxing y se me quedó la cosquilla de que yo podía hacer más. En ese tiempo mi padre enfermó. Cuando él me dijo que iba a morir, yo le dije que no se tenía que morir, que todavía iba yo. Él me tenía que haber ganado un campeonato mundial porque yo iba a ser campeón mundial. él me abrazó y me dijo que todos los días le echara ganas para que lo lograra, que él iba a estar conmigo aunque él muriera. Entonces es un recuerdo muy grande, doloroso, pero me impulsó a hacerlo. Vine hacia aquí, soy campeón mundial, lo hice por él, mi promesa la cumplí. Me siento feliz por realizar una meta. Soy campeón mundial, pero no lo bastó todo. Ahora yo siento que él está muy feliz donde sea que está, por vivir dentro de mí todavía. Y ahora lo hago por mí, ahora voy a ganar más, ahora lo voy a hacer por mí, por todos los que me siguen, por todos los que creen en mí. Siempre para adelante, así le cueste lo que le cueste, pero siempre es mejor morir en la línea que atrás. No ser cobarde, siempre ir para el frente.
And he is one of the best fighters Mexico has to offer, fighting out of Tijuana, Mexico. Edwin Aguilar, 20-12 in his career, in his mid to late 30s now, and a huge opportunity in the middleweight tournament tonight.
Yeah, this guy is no stranger to wars with over 32 fights. He holds a win over UFC standout Alan Belcher, and this guy's got 15 years experience as a fighter, so he's born to fight.
Affiliated with Tiger's team, but also does a little bit of work with Team Quest. He turned pro in mixed martial arts in 2002. 13 of his 20 victories to this point have come by technical or knockout, 3 submission victories on the resume as well. We mentioned one of the most popular fighters in mixed martial arts in Mexico, and you touch on the 15 years experience. Here are some of the credentials: an IKF Muay Thai world champion, a Mexican Sancho national champion, a Pan American sub-champion, and a North American Muay Thai champion. You know he likes to kickbox, so he'll be trying to get that going here tonight.
Sounds like he likes to be champion a lot. Is that 4 championships in 15 years?
Yeah, a lot of titles. I mean, maybe not the overall mixed martial arts success on the big stage, but he could put an end to all of that noise by winning the Bellator Gold. Again, it is a tournament quarterfinal here in the 185-pound division. The winner moves on with $25,000 in the back pocket. It is Yosmani Cabezas against Edwin Aguilar. And I'm excited for the middleweight tournament. You know, we have 32 fighters at the beginning of this whole thing in 4 different divisions. But a lot of people like the big guys, and rightfully so, the 185-pounders going at it here tonight.
Yeah, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, and the big guys are the ones that tend to lend themselves to having more knockouts. When you've got a guy that's a Muay Thai champion, a North American Muay Thai champion, a Sancho, and has such a strong striking background, I would expect nothing less than
All
a
right, let's send
stand-up
it inside, Jason, for the particulars.
Damas y caballeros, este combate forma parte del torneo de eliminación directa en la división peso mediano de Bellator Fighting Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is part of the Bellator Fighting Championships Single Elimination Middleweight Tournament. Presentado por, being brought to you by Ford Motor Company y ESPN Deportes. Este combate pactado a 3 asaltos. This bout set for 3 rounds of MMA action. Los jueces son, the judges are Bobby Higdon, Nick Atwood y Jim Lombard. El referee, Tom Jones. Presentando la esquina azul, introducing the blue corner. Vestido de gris con color negro. He steps into the ring wearing gray trimmed in black. Su peso oficial, 183 libras. His official weight, 183 pounds. Un especialista en estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 7 victorias, con solo una derrota. He is a freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 7 victories against 1 lone defeat. Representing Spartan Gym, Tampa, Florida, Yosmani, the Spartan Cabezas. En la esquina roja, in the red corner, vestido de negro con blanco, rojo y naranja. He steps into the ring wearing black, trimmed in red, white, and orange. Detuvo la báscula, un peso oficial de 184 libras. He tipped the scales at an official 184 pounds. Practica los artes marciales de boxeo tailandés y estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 20 victorias y 12 derrotas. He is a Muay Thai and freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 20 victories against 12 losses. Representing Lava Fitness, Tijuana, Baja California, México, Edwin, el Tigre Aguilar.
All right, guys, you both know the rules. I want you to protect yourself at all times. Listen to my commands at all times. Touch gloves and come out fighting.
So Yasmani Cabezas is the favorite here, taking on Edwin Aguilar, and I think we're all excited to see exactly what Cabezas has here. The betting line, at least the ones that are out there, do have him installed as the favorite here, and he only has 1 loss compared to Aguilar's 12. Doesn't necessarily have the MMA fights under his belt, but certainly has the better winning percentage.
Good show of respect there by both fighters. Cabezas comes out with front kicks. Side kicks, front kicks, more front kicks. And a big Superman punch over the top by Aguilar there. Mixing up his levels well.
Yeah, nice kick there, Lance.
Oh, you don't want to stick your tongue out in an MMA fight.
Yeah, not sure 23 seconds in is the time to go Michael Jordan on you. And just like that, Aguilar doing some damage.
Yeah, Aguilar did a good job of working up some right uppercuts and then mixing it up and throwing that right leg kick behind it and really mixing up his levels. Cabezas likes that front kick. It's a good way to kind of keep distance from your opponent. Oh, nice right leg kick again by Aguilar.
Yeah, doing a nice job mixing it up thus far. Cabezas lands.
Not much on that head kick. Glanced off the gloves of Cabezas there. Nice. Oh, he catches the leg. A good takedown by Cabezas. Just caught that right leg kick that Aguilar threw and tripped him down. Now working out of the open guard. Cabezas is going to need to work to pass here. He's going to control the head, bring his hips around. Aguilar's in on a single, looking for the switch, gets the reversal. Beautiful transition by Aguilar.
So some nice back and forth action here as the middleweight tournament gets underway, and it looks like from the bottom there, Cabezas trying to lock something in.
But Cabezas just needs to let go of the head of Aguilar. Right there, all he's doing by holding the head down is stopping Aguilar from posturing up and throwing punches and getting leverage behind that. But if Aguilar really wanted to, he could secure with his left arm, the arm that's around his head, and step around for a far side armbar. So you gotta be careful when you're leaving those arms out there.
And Edwin, even though he doesn't have control of his head, still doing a nice job staying active and landing with some strikes to the body and to the head. We mentioned in the first 2 rounds of the tournament, no elbow strikes to the head.
And on an armbar there is a little short though. Aguilar backs up.
See Cabezas more than willing to stay on the ground. I guess if Aguilar has one weakness, it's probably his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but a very well-rounded fighter overall.
Fighters show the respect there.
Again, Aguilar doing a lot of damage there to the right leg. See if that plays a role as we move forward.
So Aguilar is a refined striker. He really throws together the punches well and mixes up his angles on the punches too. You see a lot of guys just throwing the left and right. Aguilar's throwing body shots there. This is Cabezas now working the Muay Thai clinch, somewhere Aguilar being a Muay Thai champ has been many times. Let's see if Cabezas can work the fence here. Ooh, Aguilar does a nice job of slipping out and throwing some punches.
And again, you mentioned mixing up the striking, leg kick, uppercut. And
nice leg trip into mount by Cabezas. Beautiful leg trip. A lot of guys like Lyoto Machida using that leg trip now. Let's see if Cabezas is looking for an arm there. Almost went for the armbar.
Yeah, tried to get the submission and conversely ended up giving up the full mount.
Now he's working on a guillotine. He's gonna hop guard here, but he doesn't have that in all the way. Oh, does he have it in deep enough? He's punching. Oh, that looks pretty deep. Oh, he pops his head out.
So nice job there by Aguilar to get out.
Cabezas went for a guillotine there, thought he had the choke in deep enough, and went and hopped guard. Unfortunately, didn't hop full guard, didn't get enough leverage on that, and Aguilar was able to slide his head out. When you're on the bottom like Cabezas is now, you just want to work to either go back to full guard like you just did there, or you really want to get to your knees, create some distance, and stand back up. You don't want to let your opponent get better position on you. Working on the armbar here, kind of a sloppy armbar. Oh, but he gets it around the head, not deep enough. Aguilar's gonna, oh, he got it!
How about
he got
that?
it!
And he's grabbing at the arm, so Cabezas, you saw, was going for the submissions at all costs. Said he was willing to do whatever it took to get it done. And Yosmani Cabezas, $25,000 richer and moving on to the middleweight semifinals.
Yeah, I didn't think that Cabezas had that armbar in deep enough. It looked like it wasn't, sunk deep enough to really get all the leverage he needed on that, but it just goes to show you that these submissions can come out of anywhere. And when guys are aggressive and they're throwing punches like Aguilar was, Cabezas took advantage of that extended arm, hooked it up, extended it, and got the submission.
Well, one man's triumph is another man's disappointment. Edwin Aguilar had been dominating at least the first round. I mean, I guess it was back and forth action, Jay, but I think Aguilar was landing the strikes, was mixing it up very nicely, but you saw Cabezas was going for the submission, and eventually he was able to sink it in. You didn't think it was tight enough?
It didn't look like it was deep enough to me, but if we take a look here at the end, you see that Aguilar is throwing some punches. Cabezas is going to work his hips up around the shoulders of Aguilar, tuck that right arm in. He's got to get that left leg around his head. Aguilar just kind of forgot about the arm. Kind of hard to see from this position, but yeah, I guess it was deep enough. The referee jumps in to stop it.
Yeah, turn the wrist over there, and it was tap or snap, I guess.
Yeah, if we take a look at this from another angle, maybe we can see.
What's the risk, perhaps?
The risk is losing your arm. You get the left arm over the head, and you're using your hips as a fulcrum point right on that wrist. And Aguilar obviously thought it was deep enough, and that's the end of the fight.
So Cabezas is moving on. Let's send it inside for the decision.
Damas y caballeros, la esquina roja se rinde con un tiempo oficial de 4 minutos, 31 segundos el primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, the red corner taps out with an official time of 4 minutes, 31 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, by way of submission, el vencedor por sumisión. Y avanzando en el torneo peso mediano de Bellator Fighting Championships, your winner by submission. And moving on in the Bellator Fighting Championships middleweight tournament, Yosmani, the Spartan Cabezas.
So Yosmani Cabezas moving on to the middleweight semifinals. You take a look at the bracket there. The first to advance to the Final Four. It's the Bellator Fighting Championships 3 at the OU campus.
Lozano versus Hector Lombard.
So now we move on with our final fight of the evening, another middleweight tournament quarterfinal. Virgil Lozano against Hector Lombard. Lozano got the quitter out of him early on in his career.
My biggest disappointment, I think it was one time that when I was competing in pancrase, amateur pancrase. I think that I quit in that fight. I always remember that moment and promise myself to never do it again.
En ese momento se dio cuenta que le faltaba una parte de ser un peleador completo. Entonces fue en el momento en que se acercó a mí y me dijo que si lo podía entrenar en la parte de arriba. Le dije que sí.
Pedro, my kickboxing and multi-coach, I like training with him because he like emphasizes in little details in boxing and multi that I think some of the other coaches just they let them pass by. Your stance, your punches, your guard. That's why I like training with him.
Se hizo una pelea más y después fue sobre esa revancha que anhelaba tanto y gracias a Dios se pudo lograr.
So Virgil Lozano, however you want to pronounce it, another Tijuana, Mexico fighter under the Bellator banner. Splits time now between Tijuana and Baja California. They call him the Mexican Machine, and he's got a whole lot of mixed martial arts experience despite just 8 official decisions.
He's actually not only got a lot of mixed martial art, but a cousin of mixed martial arts is pancration, the ancient Greece style of martial arts, and he's the 2-time world pancration medalist in Greece. So definitely comes in with a lot of experience, both in and out of an octagon.
Really burst onto the mixed martial arts scene in Mexico by finishing 3 straight high-level opponents. People started to know who Lozano was. All of his 6 wins have come either by submission or technical knockout. Knows how to finish fights when opportunities present themselves. And a nice backstory here is only lost to Ulysses Cortez by knockout, who was the middleweight champion in Mexico at the time. So what does he do? He comes back, arm bars the dude in the first round to avenge that loss later and to become the Cage of Fire middleweight champion.
Yeah, that negates your loss, right? If the guy beats you, you beat him, you both kind of go, let's take those off the record.
And you win a belt in the process, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt.
Lozano works full-time as an administrative manager during the day. Perhaps a victory in the Bellator tournament would ease that burden a little bit. All right, now it is time to introduce the tournament favorite at 185, the U.S. debut of Hector Lombard.
Cuando era chiquito, una santera me dijo que yo era hijo de Shango. Entonces, a partir de ese momento me empezó a gustar el nombre de Shango y su historia, que era guerrero, siempre peleaba. Y entonces, cuando empecé a pelear, me decidí poner ese nombre. Yo peleo porque necesito probarme algo para mí mismo, probar que yo puedo llegar. Y también, bueno, yo estoy casado y quiero estar con mi mujer y ayudarlo. Yo pienso que el punto más bajo de mi vida al momento es estoy sin familia, porque mi familia está lejos de mí. Por eso que quiero esforzarme más para estar junto a ellos, que vengan, si es posible, para Estados Unidos y que vivan aquí por un tiempo. Esa es la influencia más grande que yo tengo, mi hijo y mi mujer.
So they've been waiting about 6 years for the United States debut of one Hector Lombard by way of Cuba, now resides in Coral Gables, Florida. Also wants people to know he's from Sydney, Australia now. You, Jason, very familiar with Hector Lombard.
Yeah, Hector Lombard is not only a standout at American Top Team, he's also an Olympic level and competed in the 2000 Olympics in judo. The thing with this guy is, though, although he's a judoka and he can throw you around, he can ground and pound you, he can submit you, the majority of his wins have actually come by TKO and knockout. Aggressive fighter.
Well, we know the hardcore fans are acutely aware of who Hector Lombard is, but for those casual fans joining us here, this might be the best middleweight that you have never heard of. American Top Team, Coconut Creek, Florida. I had Bobby Lashley in studio at ESPN a few weeks back on MMA Live. Could not stop raving about Hector Lombard, and you would speak from experience here. Says he can't really roll or spar with anyone south of 185. He's just too big and too devastating.
Hector Lombard is a monster at 185.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this guy, he looks like the Hulk. I mean, he's a super talented guy, super aggressive, comes into fights. He's not going to sit here and play, let me see if I can win a decision. He is going to come full force. This is like unleashing a beast inside of the cage.
You mentioned his competition as a member of the Cuban Olympic judo team back in 2000. Actually met his wife while there in Sydney, Australia. Comes in riding a 12-fight unbeaten streak, 11 wins with 1 draw. Has never been finished in his career. The veteran of Pride and Deep in Japan. The only loss, at least recently, to Gerard Mousasi, a unanimous decision back in 2006. The only other loss to another big name, Akihiro Gono, under the Pride label. 17-2 in his career. It's got a whole lot of momentum, Jason, coming into this fight.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. He's definitely the best 185er you've never heard of, but you're going to after tonight.
Oh, we send it inside. Here's Lupe Contreras.
Este combate continúa el torneo de eliminación directa en la división peso mediano de Bellator Fighting Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout continues the Bellator Fighting Championship Single Elimination Middleweight Tournament. Presentado por, being brought to you by Ford Motor Company y ESPN Deportes. Los jueces son, the judges are Nick Atwood, Bobby Higdon y Jim Lambert. El referee, Tom Jones. En la esquina azul, in the blue corner, vestido de verde con negro, blanco, rojo y naranja. He steps into the ring wearing green, trimmed in black, white, red, and orange. Su peso oficial, 183 libras. His official weight, 183 pounds. Un especialista en boxeo tailandés con un récord profesional de 6 victorias y solo una derrota. He is a Muay Thai fighter with a professional record of 6 victories against 1 lone defeat. Representing Pitbull Gym and Alliance, Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. Virgilio, la máquina mexicana Lozano. Su rival en la esquina roja. His opponent in the red corner. Vestido de negro con blanco y rojo. He steps into the ring wearing black trimmed in white and red. Detuvo la báscula a un peso idéntico de 183 libras. He tipped the scales at an identical 183 pounds. Un especialista en boxeo tailandés y estilo libre, con un récord profesional de 17 victorias y solo 2 derrotas. He is a Muay Thai and freestyle fighter with an MMA record of 17 victories against only 2 losses. Fighting out of the Sydney, Australia, y representing American Top Team, Coconut Creek, Florida, Hector El Chango Lombard.
All right, guys, you both know the rules. Protect yourself at all times. Listen to my commands at all times. Touch gloves and come out fighting.
So Tom Jones, the third man in the Bellator cage tonight. All eyes firmly on Hector Lombard as he makes his United States debut. And really in a tournament where you have 8, now 7, I guess, middleweights still in contention, Hector Lombard's the clear favorite, and there's really no argument to the contrary.
Yeah, he comes in with the most experience on the winning side for sure. He's fought some of the toughest competition, and he trains with a great team. But upsets have happened, and this may be one of them, so we got to pay attention.
Well, Lozano certainly not intimidated here at the outset. You saw him land a couple kicks early on.
I think Hector Lombard needs to lift a little bit.
Yeah, it does look pretty weak there in the cage, doesn't it? I mean, what a specimen.
So focused, too. Doesn't take his eyes off the opponent when he punches. Lozano throwing some good knees there. Both men really explosive inside the clinch, working well. Neither one just kind of setting the pace there. Oh, and it's all over. Uppercut by Hector Lombard, and it is over. Lozano goes down in the first round.
As advertised, Hector Lombard making a major statement in his United States debut. Virgil Lozano out cold with one punch there. Wow. Hector Lombard, welcome to the United States of America.
Hercules. Woo.
Well, of course, we will update you on the condition of Virgil Lozano. The medics are attending to him in the cage right now. And he just says, you see there, he mouthed, I'm good. So a good sign there as Virgil Lozano seems okay. But the story here is Hector Lombard. We told you about the power. You blink and you miss the main event. Wow. U.S. Armed Forces out in droves tonight, enjoying the action here as Hector Lombard, the 31-year-old, improving his mixed martial arts record to 18-2.
You see Conan Silveira there on the bottom left hand of your screen, lifting up Hector Lombard. ATT, again, a great school down there. A lot of tough guys.
And again, you can expect Lozano to have a headache later, but nice to see him already up on the stool. Now he's actually up on his feet, so a really good sign in the other corner. And it's a good thing because we can pay heed to Hector Lombard. And shortly here, Jay, here, take a look at the end of this fight.
Well, it's pretty simple. Hector is standing southpaw. He throws that left, just sneaks underneath the armpit of Lozano there, and it's good night, just right on the button with a lot of power. We take a look at this from another angle. You see him, boom, left uppercut, sneaks right in, and he's out.
And not your traditional power punch there. I mean, he got the left hand to go, but it didn't seem like he had his whole body weight behind it. Talk about the power there.
Hector's just a compact guy and just throws a lot of power behind all of his punches.
So a convincing knockout for Hector Lombard. We send it inside the cage.
Este combate concluye con un tiempo oficial de 1 minuto 10 segundos del primer asalto. Ladies and gentlemen, this bout concludes with an official time of 1 minute 10 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, by way of knockout, el vencedor por knockout. Y avanzando en el torneo peso mediano de Bellator Fighting Championships. The winner, and moving on in the Bellator Fighting Championships middleweight tournament, Hector El Chango Lombard.
So his destiny is in his own hands, and Hector Lombard to this point taking advantage, the 9th knockout victory of his career. You can make an argument that it was the most impressive, the short left uppercut there. Virgil Lozano's out cold. We will hear from Hector Lombard when we return to Oklahoma University in Norman, Oklahoma. So just as the doctor ordered, Hector Lombard convincingly moving on to the semifinals. The winner is standing by with Jason Chambers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with your winner, and a winner in amazing fashion, Hector Lombard.
Thank you.
Hector, obviously you ended this fight with a huge knockout. Was that your plan coming into this fight?
Yeah, that was my plan all the time. I like to knock out, so I come up not just to knock him out, just to knock out anybody who is in this tournament. I got to knock him out. Anybody is in this tournament.
Well, talk us through this knockout that you just had.
I caught him with the uppercut. He was defending the cross, so I said to myself, I won't get him with the cross, so I'm coming under with the uppercut.
Amazing knockout. You're moving on in the tournament, a force to be reckoned with at 185 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, Hector Lombard.
Well, it will be interesting to hear what the experts has to say as to where Hector Lombard falls in terms of the best middleweights in the world. You see Osmani Cabezas and Hector Lombard both moving on to the middleweight semifinals. We continue the middleweight action next week. For Jason Chambers, I'm John Anik. We'll see you next week in Norman, Oklahoma.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Francis Ngannou. Subscribe now.